reaction that everyone has the first time they see, a loved one with a cane, which is this sort of intense cocktail of emotions, which includes like, oh God, they look so vulnerable. I think I wasn't being fair to her just by producing it because we hadn't talked about it. And that scene in the book, we went over together a lot, and it was really useful actually because it sort of forced a conversation between us to say, why did you have that reaction? In my first draft, I was a lot harsher, I think, against her. Like, oh yeah, we were in this restaurant, and I suddenly pulled the cane out to find the bathroom, and she said, you don't need that. And after we talked about it, I realized that I hadn't given her a chance to acclimate to it before I busted it out in this social situation.
You also quote her at another point in the book as saying that canes are, or people think of canes as being emasculated, that it's different for a man than a woman to have a cane. And I think she kind of caught herself after saying that. I mean, she's a college professor. She knows the ins and outs of all this stuff. But what was your reaction to hearing that, and what kind of conversation did that lead to?
Yeah, the comment she made was, "This has got to be harder for a man than a woman because of those expectations." And she wasn't saying that that's the way it has to be, but just acknowledging that being a man raised in the society that we live in, there are these sort of expectations that I certainly feel like I want to be the one driving us around. I want to be the one guiding her through the dark restaurant rather than vice versa. And so it stung to hear her say that, certainly, because it felt like even if she was in her, professorial way acknowledging it as like a, received ideology that we didn't necessarily need to subscribe to, there was a different part of my mind that thought like, oh, well, you see me this way, like you're seeing me in this diminished light. And yeah, so it wasn't great feeling, but also I think it was important because I think, I've heard of lots of couples where one member of the couple becomes blind or becomes disabled and the relationship falls apart, and I think it falls apart certainly for many reasons, but my sense of it is that people don't talk about it in a way that can disentangle some of these difficult dynamics. And so one of the things I really wanted to do in writing the book was, as uncomfortable as it was, to get into some of these difficult conversations, because I think it's so important for people to be able to disentangle those perceptions of what their gender roles are and how disability complicates them in a way that then you can move past it. And I think writing the book and having those conversations really was just transformative for me, because now I feel like we have a handle on what's real and what's not.